Well, they are the images ingrained in our mind. The daring rooftop rescues, the large crowds at the Superdome and the convention centers, the looting that followed, and the exhausted and the anguished faces of people trying to survive the worst natural disaster of our lifetime. And it all happened in the days following Hurricane Katrina. Cries for help were unanswered for days until they called in an ace, the Raging Cajun, some called him, a native son of Louisiana who rose to the ranks of Army Lieutenant General.
I've got buses, I've got troops, I've got doctors, I got helicopters standing by, I've got backup troops, and I got medical capability across the street.
Lieutenant General Russell Honore was appointed as commander of Joint Task Force Katrina on August 30th, 2005, and he's just retired his post and from the U.S. Army last month, and he's now starting to speak out about his experience in the midst of all the cleanup and the chaos there. Lieutenant General Honore joins me now from Washington, D.C. What a pleasure it is to speak with you, sir. You know, they say that some great leaders are born, they're not made. Were you born to handle the chaos of the immediate aftermath of Katrina?
Well, Art, that's a good question, and it's one that I've pondered over the years, and I've often been asked that by junior officers in the Army. But I think it's a combination of both. You get reinforcement as a youngster with your family. You go through an education system that shape you and challenge you. But there may be some skills in terms of speaking and personality that affect you as a leader. But I can tell you, by the time I got to Katrina, I had 35 years of good Army leadership taught to me by non-commissioned officers in the Army and the Army school system. At one time, our bumper sticker in the Army about leadership was be, know, do. Be a leader, know what to do, and do what is required of you. So yeah, I think it's a combination of both.
Well, I want you to walk me back through the waters when you first got to ground zero of Katrina. And again, being a native son of Louisiana and being the veteran that you are in the military, what in the world was going through your mind? Was that like a military maneuver or procedure that you had never encountered in your experiences?
That'd be a fair assessment. You haven't been on the ground there. You understand the terrain and the nature and the climate. On the morning I arrived, which I went into Mississippi on Tuesday, and Tuesday night I was given a mission by the Pentagon to go help with the evacuation of New Orleans. And in doing so, Wednesday morning I flew in at 9:47 on a Navy Seahawk helicopter. And when we landed, what I saw was the face of my people, the people of Louisiana. In many cases, the face of the poor, a patience that I had never witnessed before since my earlier childhood in Louisiana.
Yeah, General Honore, not to cut you off, you also saw guns on the street. A lot of the people were brandishing weapons, including members of the military, and there needed to be some control to that, and you took that control. How did you do it?
Well, we had a lot of help on the ground. New Orleans Police Department was doing their best. Louisiana State Police and National Guard and federal law enforcement. We got sufficient manpower on the ground to get control of it. But much of what you were seeing on the street was a snapshot of people who would probably be trying to do that type of activity if the storm had not happened. But I just want to put in context the people at the Superdome and at the convention center. They were not looting. They were showing great patience, and it's the patience of the poor waiting for us to assemble the assets to get them out of there and evacuate them. And my hat's off to them, because they were only being guarded by, protected by a few National Guard troops with some flimsy parade fence. So my compliments to the people who had the patience for us to get the assets.
Sure, I'm glad you brought that point up, because I'm wondering how you were able to cordon off those who were just desperate and just trying to get life-saving provisions any way they could in the midst of this chaos, and then those others who were carrying out flat-screen TVs on a grocery cart that were looting places like the Best Buys and all of the electronic stores. How were you able to sort through that?
Well, that's and again, those snapshots became snapshots that people in America saw what was going on in New Orleans. There's unfair characterization of what was happening on the street. As I said, those were small criminal elements. you have a place like the convention center where 16,000 people waited for, many of them there 6 or 7 days with their families. And many of them had to do it to look around and find places to keep their family comfortable, to find food and water. And in some cases, yes, there was some people who went and got food and water and went and got a mattress to put grandma on. But I call that more of an act of survival than I do looting, as far as what we saw on TV.
Yes.
And those small snapshots gave America a bad perception. And early on, I knew how job would be to try and turn this around, that this is more about poor people trying to be evacuated than a few thugs who are breaking into shops and stealing widescreen television.
Sure, and I am absolutely positive, having been there and having talked to people about you, Lieutenant General, that people absolutely hold you in the highest esteem for how you were able to go into the theater there and take charge of that situation. And as I said at the onset, bring some calm to what was happening there, at least as best you could. And we appreciate your service to the United States of America, sir.
Well, thank you very much. And Art, one of the things I'll be working here in the coming months is we're going to publish a book about that experience. But bigger than that, we're working with universities and with local governments to talk about the culture of preparedness, to prepare this nation, starting in the home, starting on our streets, and starting in our schools and our neighborhood, that we need to have a culture of preparedness, meaning that preparedness is a part of our lives, that we go from one season to the next each year, and in each season there are things we do to prepare our homes and our families in the event we have to evacuate, or in the event a hurricane is coming, or in the event there's a flood, or God forbid, as happened in Florida last week, what happened if we lose power for 3 days?
Absolutely, and we'll all be looking for that book with great interest. Lieutenant General Russell Honore, thank you very, very much. And by the way, just like to let you know that the Lieutenant General will be the speaker at the Mount Olive Baptist Church in Arlington, Virginia. This event is free. It is at 7 o'clock. It is open to the public. And if you would like more information, you can visit online at www.mountollivebc.org. Go out and support Lieutenant General Russell Honore. John Wayne, as Mayor Ray Nagin called him when all that was going on.